Look, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today.
You're listening to the BulkLoads podcast, your number one resource in everything bulk freight trucking. And this is episode 222.
Hey guys, Jared Flynn with the BulkLoads podcast. Got Tyler in here with me.
What's going on?
Tyler, I am excited about today's podcast, probably because it's in my wheelhouse.
Yep.
Anytime we're talking marketing, sales, branding, man, my eyes light up. I get all juiced up, I guess, when we're talking about this. But I'll let you lead off before we get into it with our tip of the week.
Yeah, so our tip of the week this week is that we are making a minor change to the BulkLoads app. Now, whenever you're listening to this, you should be able to pull up the BulkLoads app. If you haven't updated it, make sure to go to the App Store and update your app first. However, now you'll be able to see a tab on there, a brand new tab that says truck insurance. And what that insurance tab is basically just a tab where you can click it and you can actually submit those few fields and get a quote from our partner company, Bulk Insurance Group. All you do is just fill out the couple fields, submit it, and then they will get in contact with you to provide an insurance quote for you.
I know you all as listeners are tired of us hearing this, but man, it is amazing how many companies we're getting onboarded, but not that, but how much we're saving companies overall. I mean, every week we're adding more and more companies. Heck, we just added, how many was it last week?
It was
10?
Yeah.
And it was just, and the reason we're adding these, we're getting them better coverage at better prices. And you all know this better than I do. And if you go out there right now, rates seem to be going down, fuel's up, and your insurance is up.
Yep.
That's a bad combo. And we're trying to change that. We want to make insurance coverage affordable and work for you as carriers. We have some awesome markets. We just had a meeting today with Larry, our CEO. And what did he say about one of those markets? He's like, sexy. He was calling, he goes, we just have these sexy markets that we can get trucking companies introduced to that they're not seeing and hopefully get them better coverage. So again, you're going to see that on the app. You'll see now an insurance tab. You can quickly go on there, submit your information to get insurance, or just call us anytime. Here at BulkLoads, we'll shift you over to those guys. It's simple. I know I hate dealing with the pain of insurance, but man, if it's worth saving thousands, and I mean thousands of dollars, I think it's worth it. I don't like when I look at my home and autos, like if you're going to tell me you can save me a couple $100, I'm really not that interested. But if you're going to save me thousands of dollars on an annual basis, it's game changing. So again, check out Bulk Insurance Group, part of BulkLoads.com. We know you won't be disappointed.
Yep.
So,
and if your renewal is coming up here soon, don't push it off. Just go ahead and let us give you a quote. That way, before your renewal hits, I'm sure we can get you better coverage for a better price.
Yeah. Moving on to the podcast today, we're going to bring on Jason Byer. He is marketing partnerships manager at Crowdspring. If you don't know what Crowdspring is, they actually help design logos for companies. But Jason's going to come on today and talk specifically about your brand. And whether you're a new company, older company, we know, well, I'll say this, new companies, you don't need to worry about your brand. You want to start building it. But as you get, 5 to 10 years, that's when you really start building out a brand. And some of us may think, that's not so much. But a brand is more than just your logo.
Yep.
I mean, it's what people perceive as you as a company, So when people think about, Black Star Trucking, they think of something in their mind, something pops in their mind, whether it's the look of your truck, whether it's your logo, whether it's the appearance of how you look. And again, a lot of these things are very critical when it comes to, establishing a good reputation, a good company.
Yep. Yeah. And Jared, you even kind of talked about it with Jason, but here locally, in the 417 area, I mean, whenever you see that shiny chromed out red truck with a tanker on the back here on the highways, I mean, that's a Rapid Roberts truck. You know who it is. It's always looking clean. It's always washed. And it's a great representation of their company and who they are.
Well, yeah, I can name a bunch of them off the top of my head. I mean, Prime Trucking, which, they're a mega carrier, but you can see that truck from a mile away and that's who they are. And these big companies have really mastered that. But you don't have to be a large company to build a brand and let people know about, who you are. So Jason's going to come on today and talk a little bit more in detail about brand. Don't tune out of this one, man. I think if you, again, are just starting out, this is very critical. But if you've been around for a while, this is even more, because it's not just that, again, that logo on the side of your truck. It's kind of the way, again, it's maybe how your appearance is, how you interact with your customers. All that is part of your brand. Here at BulkLoads, we were talking about this morning, hey, all of us represent our brand, whether we're in here or out, out meeting with customers or out personal doing things, man. We are representing the company we work for, and we take that very serious. So,
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, with that said, here's my conversation with Jason Byer of Crowdspring. Hey, Jason, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Jared. Glad to be here.
You're in the great state of Wyoming today.
That's right. Always sunny, big sky.
Yeah, that's awesome. You said Cody, right?
Cody, correct.
Radio capital of the world, of the U.S.
It is. It's nice to be right outside Yellowstone. I mean, we're surrounded by 8 million square miles, just a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about branding today. I know listeners right now on our show may be kind of like, I don't know about this. This one I think is going to pique your interest, and for reasons that you probably wouldn't expect. So I want you to sit back, listen in, and we're going to kind of dive into this and the importance of branding. So with that said, Jason, kick us off. Why should we be thinking about our brand as a small business company? Whether I'm a truck driver, an owner operator, maybe I just operate my own truck. I don't have a big fleet. I'm a small freight brokerage, small grain company. I mean, is it that important?
It is. And so let's back up even further before we get into why and talk about what is a brand, right? Because I think we might throw this term around loosely and we might think it only, has to do with large companies, right? McDonald's, Cabela's, Nike, right? These are brands, but we don't tend to think of maybe a smaller business or an owner operator or a trucking line as having its own brand, but they absolutely do. And the reason why is because a brand, simply put, is every interaction that somebody has with your business. And if you are the only person operating in the business, that translates also to you, right? Every interaction they have with you as the business owner. And so it's every interaction. So think about this. It's how quickly you respond to phone calls. It's the tone that you use when you're on the phone. It's the way you're dressed, right? When you get out of the truck or meet somebody. It's the style of your website if you have one. It's every single interaction that somebody has with you and the company. And then a lot of times we'll think, well, a logo is a brand, right? And the logo is just the symbol. It represents the brand. So it's the brand identity. It's everything visual about the brand is your brand identity. And this could be the way your website's laid out and the colors that you're using and, the color of your truck and the color of the logo and the style of the logo. Everything visual is the brand identity. And it serves as a shortcut. It allows you to be able to instantly think about what this company means, what they stand for, their level of service very quickly, right? Because when a truck is flying down the road, you don't get a lot of time to, have your mission statement written on the side, right? Or who your customers are. But we can identify and process images thousands of times faster than text anyway. So we can take advantage of that in our brand identity. So the colors that we're using will symbolize, who we're talking to, right? The style of font, talks about the type of audience we're reaching. And almost most importantly, because your truck is going to follow a, probably predictable route, you're going to either come home every night, through a neighborhood, or, you're going to park that truck in a specific area. You're going to start to build brand recognition. So why does McDonald's and Coca-Cola advertise on billboards across the country?
Right.
It's so that we can't get too far without seeing that brand, that logo, right? We're constantly seeing it. Their imagery doesn't say much. You think about a McDonald's billboard or Coca-Cola, it's pretty much just the logo, right? There's not much extra value that they're adding, but they're stacking those repetitious viewings constantly. And that's what you can do with your truck, right? When you have this visual identity, this brand, you're able to continually showcase your company in front of the customers, potential customers, so they start to build some brand recognition. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I'm gonna throw a little devil's advocate. I'm a small business, one truck operator. I get things from point A to point B that doesn't seem that important to me. I mean, if they want my service, they have my service. Sometimes I'm treated as a commodity and not as a service, being a truck driver. What would you say to that guy that's saying that right now? That's listening to this being like, this isn't probably that important. Is it really that big of a deal?
Sure.
My brand, and I want you to answer that. But then also, I've heard it said that a brand takes years to build. Like, you can't just have a brand. Like, a brand is, it has to be almost 5 to 10 years before you start developing your own brand. What would you respond to that?
Sure. So let's take the first question. The first question was around really about, there's two different types of business owners. The ones that have a lot of business currently, and they're turning it away. They can't take on any more jobs because they have too much. That business owner really needs to raise their prices, right? Or to set some additional, comfort boundaries where they can start making more money per load, right?
Right.
And the way you do that is by building trust. And communicating that you're the reliable service, you're the service that's worth a premium. You can't say you're worth a premium when you look like, it's like a homemade type business, right?
Yeah.
You want to be able to project. You're not trying to say something you're not. You're never trying to say I'm bigger than I am. You're never trying to misrepresent the fact that maybe you only own one truck, but you're trying to accurately portray that you are worth more. And one of the ways you do that is by looking professional. And it doesn't mean, I'm thinking about, we've got a lot of dirt in Wyoming, right?
Yeah.
there's a lot of nothing. There's a lot of people who need dirt moved around, right? And so we've got a lot of trucking companies focused purely on excavation, moving dirt, moving minerals, right? It's a pretty commodity driven, type of market. Who's available? Who's going to pick up the phone? But the only one that I can know for sure who's available when I need something is Dick's Dirt. And I have no idea. I've never talked to Dick. I assume that's his first name. I assume it's a single person. But I can picture that orange logo. I've seen it going up and down roads, right? I have no idea about all their services or what they charge, but it looks professional. It looks strong. And so that's the only one out of the hundreds of different operators in the area that I can say with confidence, he could probably help. I know a name, and that's what you want to get to. And so that kind of gets into your second question about, building that brand. Look, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today, right? You don't want to keep putting this off. And so you want to start thinking about your brand as quickly as possible, because whether you're thinking about your brand or not, it's being shaped by the people interacting with you in the company, right? And so you want to take an active effort in shaping that relationship and cultivating it, thinking about how you're going to respond instead of just letting it happen to you. And one of the ways we find to do that is with visuals. That's what we do at Crowdspring. And, having a professional, having a custom logo, having that strong visual sets you apart. It makes you look more professional. And so if you're not that first example of somebody who's turning away business and now needs to, create more of a premium service and upcharge, if you're in that business where you're just trying to get more work, part of that work is going to go to the person who just answers the phone. We know that, right? There's a shortage in almost every industry. We need people that can deliver on the service that they say they can. That's part of it. But what happens when you're up against another person for a contract? And so when it comes down to a couple people, I want somebody who's going to be reliable, someone who's trustworthy. And if I don't know anything about you, it's difficult to understand that. It's difficult to communicate that. Whereas brands start to do that for you, right? How you answer the phone, how you respond to phone calls, how you're dressed, what your logo looks like, how clean your truck is. These are all elements of how people interact with your company.
Well, I want to interject there because I was just talking to a truck driver last week, and we were on the conversation about, looking professional. And he made a comment that said, hey, when I'm in the truck, because we give away a lot of T-shirts. It has our our logo on there, and again, we do a lot of it because of our brand. We give it to people to wear. He goes, man, I love your shirt. He goes, but when I'm driving the truck, he goes, I wear a nice polo shirt with my logo on it, tucked in. And he said, if it's wintertime, I'll wear a button-up shirt. But he said that's that's the brand that I want to portray when I go to these facilities to either load or unload. When I get out of the truck, he goes, I want to look nice and professional. And you'll hear there's a lot of chatter that we'll see in forums, even on our website, where these truckers talk about some of these newer companies that aren't doing that. Like, guy will get out of the truck, he's in flip flops, and I'm not degrading or saying anything bad about that. But again, if you're a professional business or service and you see somebody that's jumping out of the truck, nice polo shirts, got his logo there on the sleeve, or somebody jumping out in flip flops, sweatpants, or whatever, who are you going to pick? From a business standpoint. I mean,
I do want to mention that professional means something different to every industry and every age group.
Right.
So it doesn't, you might have somebody listening and thinking, look, I've never worn a polo in my life. I dress up for church and that's it, and that's fine. It doesn't mean you have to be, button up shirt, suit and tie and looking stuffy. It could just be a nice, clean Carhartt, right? It could be a consistent color, right? Where, you're looking clean, you don't have holes, but there's you can look really professional and a lot of Carhartt's line, you don't have to have, something that's too stuffy.
So I'll say that on the tire, but when you mention some of these other attributes, like I know there's trucking companies I know specifically, and even one truck operators, like when their truck goes up and down the road, I know that's them because first off, that truck is always impeccably clean. I mean, the thing is detailed out. I mean, I can still just visualize the stripes on the truck, the color, the chrome stacks. But again, like they have created their brand that we know. Hey, I know it's that.
And you
guy.
might know that brand even before you know the name.
Yeah.
Like you might not remember the name, but you start to picture the stripes and the stacks and just that feel you get, and then you seek out the name, right? And then you find out who this person is.
Yeah.
And so it's incredibly important. Yep.
And then last thing I was just going to add, there's a big trucking outfit here in Springfield. Most every trucker knows of it, just because they're huge. But one of the things that I've heard, like any truck that comes through their facility, it's mandatory that they go through the wash bay. Like it doesn't matter whether things already clean, like they have to go through the wash bay. And again, if you see these trucks on the road, every one of them impeccably clean. I mean, you don't see anything. And again, but that's the image that they've conveyed out there, that these trucks are all, detailed up. And again, it shows in their business.
And so let's take that further. What's the psychology behind a clean truck and winning a contract, right? What does that mean? Because it costs money, it costs time. It's one more step in the process. Yeah. You just got off of a trip, or you're trying to get on a trip, and now you've got to clean a truck. What this means, when you see a clean vehicle, when you see clean outfits, it's signaling that you care. And if you care about something that is not directly related to the product, that product is going to get from point A to point B, regardless of how clean the truck is or how clean the driver is.
Yeah.
But if you care about these little things, you're signaling to the buyer that you care. And so if you care about the little things, you're going to care about the level of quality for that whatever you're transporting, right? They trust you. They think you're honest. They're not ripping them off. It's all of this emotion that's coming through that we don't get to convey if we don't care about the little things. That's why we do it. That's why this company is cleaning their truck. It's not to, just show off a clean truck because they're selling trucks. It's because they're selling trust. That's what they're selling. They're selling a higher level of service with their customers. And one way of the dozens of ways they can communicate that is with a clean vehicle.
One thing when we started BulkLoads, Jason, 11 years ago, and actually, I was recently talking to a colleague of mine on kind of the why behind this, but we really wanted to give away apparel with our logos on there. And the way we always saw that, hey, if people want to wear our logos, like going down the road or at truck stops or anywhere they interact, they're going to see that. And we thought that's going to be a lot more of an ROI versus, paying for advertising up on a billboard down the highway or whatever. And again, people still know us as like, man, these guys give away, and we give away a lot of t-shirts, hats. Everything if you're looking right now, I have our logo on here. I just got a compliment like an hour ago. They're like, man, that is one slick looking hat. And we actually buy top gear. But a guy was asking me last week, a colleague, he was like, why do you do that much? And I said, and this may not have as much to do with branding. Maybe it does. I said, man, when I was little, we were dirt poor on this farm. Yeah. And I remember one summer we were playing baseball and we needed a sponsor for the baseball team. And again, no money. Scrapping ends meet. My dad said, hey, I'm going to pay and I'm going to sponsor that team, that baseball team. And I can specifically remember, I mean, it was just like a little sketch. We had a sawmill, so it was like a little blade, and it had Flynn and Son Sawmill on the, on the shirt. But I was so proud of that my dad, stepped up, bought the shirts for the team. I mean, we wore those shirts years later. And I told him, I was like, I think that's where that stemmed from. Just, I mean, that sense of pride that I had having our name on a shirt that people got to see. I mean, it looked professional. It was professional business. What would be your take on that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you think about it seems so dumb when you're talking about grown men and, collecting, or women, collecting stickers and stuff. And it's like, I think about my toolbox, downstairs, and it is just covered in beer stickers and tools and, all of these they're just symbols, but they represent, who we are. And I don't want to let it go unnoticed what you mentioned about your own branded apparel, that you spend a premium on what you get, because if you're a bigger company, if you're trying to incentivize truck drivers, or you're giving out apparel like you are more often, it can backfire if you're giving out something cheap, because two different ways somebody sees that. They see, one, you as a cheap company. If you're, giving away, the absolute cheapest quality t-shirt or hat that's uncomfy, it signals that you're a cheap company, that maybe you're not being as successful as you're proclaiming because you can't afford, the right gear. It also isn't used as frequently, right? So that hat, I'm looking at you wearing it right now. It fits well. It's not sloppy, so you want to wear it. And that's what you really want to create, is where somebody, wants to wear your apparel. So if you are considering branded merchandise, you want to make sure you're going, more top of the line, so that it's comfy and portrays your brand well.
Yeah. Well, Jason, let's talk a little bit more about Crowdspring. And I think as a business owner, I'm like, is it that important to get a really nice logo? I mean, it's part of my brand. I know. I mean, that's just a glimpse of what you all do. But talk about how you can take a prospective small business owner, and basically give them all the bells and whistles, help them with the logo, help them build that brand. Walk us through those steps that you all provide.
Absolutely. We've helped over 100,000 small businesses and larger. And I think it's evidenced by the fact that we do hundreds of trucking logos, right? Because the fun part about Crowdspring is you don't have to be a designer. You don't have to know what you're looking for. We've made it really easy for you just to communicate who your customers are, where you are in the country, what colors you like, these really basic questions that should come very naturally. And then we have 212,000 creatives on the platform that then see your project and submit their custom designs. These are not mock-ups. These are completely custom. They're designed by a human, and they're made just for you. And so they can integrate, the important things in your business and your life that you want to communicate in a very professional way, with appropriate colors and the right fonts, without you having to figure out, what to do to create that. And so you get dozens of these. Obviously, you can only have one logo for your business. So the hardest part is really narrowing it down to say, okay, this is the one that I think is the strongest. It's unlimited iterations. And we have a 100% money back guarantee. So you're able to, that includes credit card processing fees. I mean, it's literally everything. And so you're able to see your brand come to life, see what we can do to make a custom logo design for your company, whether that's the first one you've had, or updating, kind of one that feels a little stale now.
Jason, I'm very simple-minded, and I think a lot of my subscribers are as well. I don't like to burn calories that much when thinking about this. And when I'm thinking about a company like yours, and like, am I going to get overwhelmed? I'm not very tech savvy. Is somebody going to help me work through this process? I mean, even trying to figure out what I want is going to be hard to do that. What would be your response?
Yeah, so we've been doing this for 15 years now. And so a lot of the business owners that we work with are busy running their business. They're driving trucks, they're cleaning carpets, they're paying the bills and payroll. They don't have time for design either, right? So we've designed it for them to be very easy to get started. The questions are really simple. The tools to give feedback can be as simple as, yes, no, or a star rating. You don't even have to, speak that much. You don't have to write anything out. We make it really easy to go through this process because we understand that, it's something that's necessary, but it can feel complicated. It can feel scary. The biggest compliment I think we get is that Crowdspring is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun for the business owner to come in, and they didn't realize it was going to be fun to kind of see their brand come to life. And it's a really proud moment for both of us, for both Crowdspring and the business owner, to say, here's this symbol that represents the company. And we know that's going to be on business cards and on the trucks and on marketplaces like yours where you're matching drivers. This logo is going to exist in a lot of different areas. And it's a very proud moment for both parties.
Jason, I'm a business. I've been around. Maybe I've been in business 10, 15 years. I created a logo years ago on a scratch napkin and had it printed, and that's what I'm using today. Maybe it's maybe archaic. Maybe I'd like a little freshen up or whatever. What do you all do for those type of business owners? Maybe, hey, I got something. I don't know if I like it that much. Maybe I like to get some advice on some ways I could spice this up, change it a little bit. Maybe my business has transformed to encompass other businesses, and how do we create more of a brand logo to encompass all the companies? How do you work with those business owners?
Yeah, in a way that's really nice because you already have some experience, right? You know who your customers are, you know what you like and don't like within the business, you know how you're perceived in the business, and so that's very helpful information to be able to provide to folks like us. We can start with a free brand review, and so it's a 10-page custom report, completely free. It covers a lot of different aspects of your brand that we will grade and provide feedback on, so that you can understand where you may be losing business or confusing your brand in the minds of the customer. And so we provide that feedback for free. We spend a lot of time educating the small business owner on building strong brands. So that's a great place to start if you want us to take a look at where you're at, and you can find that right on crowdspring.com. If you want to just get right into it, I mean, that's essentially what our questions ask. We ask how long you've been in business. We ask, if you already know the market that you're trying to reach. So if you've already been in, you want to kind of freshen up a logo so it looks a little bit tighter, and you want your age to be an advantage in an industry, right? You want somebody to say, wow, their 10, 15 years experience is helping them be better. You don't want somebody thinking, wow, their 10, 15 years of experience is dating them. They're stuck in a certain age. And so you want it to work for you, and definitely a refresh can help with that.
That's awesome. Well, I got one final question, and
Sure.
just to kind of build some credibility. Are there any companies out there today or any that have used Crowdspring that we might be familiar with, that we like when you say the name, like it pops to mind, or it's like we know that logo?
Sure. Let's see. We have pretty strong non-disclosure agreements and privacy protections for businesses that choose to exercise those.
Sure.
So it's very helpful, for some businesses that want to launch quietly or don't want to mention that, maybe they've used our services, then we offer that. So the ones that I know I can talk about, the Dallas Mavericks in Texas, we designed their jerseys. We worked with Mark Cuban and designed those jerseys. So
wow.
Hopefully that didn't turn off anybody if they aren't a fan. Let's see, outside of sports, we also do more, as you mentioned, than just logos. So we've done some fun projects where we designed a new shape for Barilla Pasta. So a huge Italian pasta company.
Yeah.
Pasta shapes have been around for centuries. They don't change much. And this company was like, okay, Barilla is the biggest name in pasta, and they're like, we want to come up with something unique and different. And so they went with getting a lot of different shape designs. A lot of the businesses are just hardworking folks that are trying to stand out. They're running a business constantly, and they're known in their community, and that's what's important.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome, man. Well, I think that's great. Jason, I found this fascinating. I think I told you before the show, I geek out when it comes to marketing. I love branding and logos and all that. I think there's businesses out there sometimes that they don't realize how important it is. You have to have a good product and you have to have a good service, but you got to have that brand to support that. And again, when you're dealing with different customers, you want that brand or that logo to come to mind when you're out there. So again, I think for any business out there today, a lot of our listeners on here, small business owners, like, hey, take this serious. This is something that, maybe it's not going to have an impact right today, but you're going to see the fruits of that as your business progresses and building that brand. Jason, for people listening, you mentioned it several times, but the next steps, and we're going to put all this in our show notes as well. So if you're listening, you should be able to just drop down and you'll see the links there. But if people want to take the next steps, where do they go?
Absolutely. Crowdspring.com. All of our pricing is publicly available. It's all very affordable. It comes with 100% money back guarantee. So we're not an agency, where you're spending thousands of dollars to take advantage of some of the things that we've mentioned. I'll send you the link for the show notes for the brand Grader. So it's a great place to start with to get your custom report that's looking specifically at your brand. And we have a lot of education on the blog on Crowdspring. Where we're talking about, branding as the secret sauce and how to take advantage of it to grow your company.
Awesome. Jason Byer with Crowdspring. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Jared. Great to be here.
Tyler, if I'm being honest with myself and you, sometimes I'm leery on podcast guests like this when they come on, just because I don't know how this is going to be perceived to our community of haulers. But Jason nailed it, in my opinion. I think this, and again, this got me excited. Again, if you know BulkLoads, if you've been a user of ours or customer, you know that we are big on marketing and branding. People know our logo. People know, by the apparel that we send out, the hats, t-shirts, everything that we do, that we really try to center it around. So when people think BulkLoads, there's an image that comes to their mind. People know that our colors, we have a green and an orange that we embed in our logo. So this one, I think, again, any company out there, you need to be thinking about this when you're designing that logo. And again, that's what Jason's company does, Crowdspring. They actually, they provide all different digital solutions, but they can help you come up with your logo, help you design that. They actually have other website services that can help you. So a lot of those tasks that maybe you're not good at, I know I'm not good at, they can do all that for you at Crowdspring.
Yeah, and whether you're a brand new company or, you've had your logo since 1960, if you're just looking for that rebrand to kind of spruce it up or to give it that extra touch, they can handle that as well. One thing Jason did mention is just, not to skip over the little things, because all in all, this stuff just shows your customers that you care about their product and you care about, the load that you are moving. And you're going to take care of it. It shows them that it's in good hands. I'd say even, the small stuff like an email signature. That's a real big one that people will skip over. But if you have a really nice professional email signature that in your messaging, a broker or shipper as a carrier, that really just goes the extra step and it makes you look professional.
I'm going to get in trouble when I say this, but sometimes some of these new companies I see that sign up, I'm a little leery. I'm like, oh my gosh, these aren't specific ones, but I've seen ones that going broke trucking or almost broke trucking. It's like, I don't know if that's a good name for a business. If you're out there listening, like, what's that shipper or broker going to think when, hey, this is John with Going Broke. Yep. I'm here to pick up a load. So again, we want you all as listeners, we want you to be successful in taking this stuff serious. Crowdspring can help you with that. We're going to put all of Jason's information in the show notes so you can click and get directed to them. But again, I am super passionate about this. And again, we all know these big logos. I mean, obviously, Amazon and Walmart and Coca-Cola and all that. And you don't have to have, that size and scale. But again, when you're thinking about a logo and building your brand, you got to have, a vision. If this business is going to last, you got to have a 10, 15, 20, 30. What do you want people to see 30 years from now? Think about that and then start backtracking that. So what do I need to do and design today?
Yeah, and I think this is a podcast that everyone in the industry can agree on, because if carriers, shippers, and brokers all take the extra step to look professional and keep this industry professional, everyone is going to look at these guys like the professionals they truly are.
Yep, absolutely. So, well, that's all we have on this podcast. Thank you all for listening. If you haven't, make sure and subscribe to our podcast. We love any reviews that you can do in the Apple Store. That helps our rankings and helps us get in the hands of more users out there that can benefit, and listeners. So we appreciate that. Also, if you get a chance, we do put these podcasts on YouTube. So if you want to view them on YouTube, a lot of people prefer that. Go to our YouTube channel, BulkLoads, and hit the subscribe button. And every time Tyler releases one of these, you will be first in line to get that ping or notification. So as always, thank you for listening to the BulkLoads podcast, and God bless.